The rooftop garden of the Sapphire Heights Plaza was an artificial paradise of white orchids and gold leaf pillars. It was the annual Founder Circle charity auction, an event where the air smelled of ozone, vintage perfume, and the sharp, metallic tang of cold ambition. At the edge of the fountain stood Elias, the CEO of the world's most powerful logistics and infrastructure firm. He was an embodiment of controlled strength, dressed in a deep navy tailored suit that seemed to absorb the ambient light. His presence was understated, but absolute. Approaching him was Victoria, the wife of the city's most aggressive real estate mogul. She was a vision of calculated hostility, draped in a bold red silk gown that billowed behind her like smoke from a fire. In her hand, she held a diamond-encrusted clutch that she tapped against her palm like a weapon. "You must be the new blood everyone is whispering about," Victoria sneered, her voice loud enough to cause the nearby socialites to pause their conversations. She didn't wait for an answer, looking at Elias's navy suit with visible disgust. "I suppose in a world of shipping crates and warehouses, this passes for formal wear. But here, you look like the man who delivers my groceries. Don't stand too close to the auction stage, darling. You'll lower the property value just by existing in the frame." The justice debt had been mounting since Elias's arrival. He had pulled up the plaza in a navy blue Toyota Land Cruiser, a rugged vehicle built for utility. At the entrance, Victoria's husband, Leland, had been stepping out of a red-painted supercar. "Take that tank to the delivery dock, Elias," Leland had barked, flicking a red silk pocket square at him. "This entrance is for guests, not for the laborers. Use the service elevator, if it can handle your weight." Elias had simply nodded, parking the car himself and walking up the stairs to the rooftop, his navy coat shielding him from the wind. Inside the Gala, Victoria had spent the hour orchestrating a social blackout. She had cornered Vance, the head of the city's planning commission, who was wearing a bold red tie. "Don't bother speaking to Elias," Victoria whispered loudly as Elias passed. "His company is a house of cards built on government subsidies. He's a glorified truck driver in a cheap suit. If he approaches you for a handshake, tell him you don't want to get grease on your palms." Now, back at the fountain, Victoria took a step closer, her red gown clashing violently with the blue water behind her. She reached out and flicked the lapel of Elias's navy jacket with manicured nail. "My husband owns the very ground this plaza is built on, Elias. We own the permits for your new headquarters. We own the people who decide if your ships even get to dock. You aren't a CEO tonight. You're an applicant, and your application is denied. Now move along. The real billionaires are about to start the auction, and we don't need a spectator in a rental suit." Leland stepped up behind her, his red pocket square a mocking flag of victory. "She's right. I've already put in the call. Your permit for the East Side expansion? It's being revoked as we speak. Consider yourself evicted from this city." Elias didn't flinch as Victoria flicked his lapel. He didn't look at the crowd of socialites now circling like sharks, sensing blood in the water. Instead, he pulled a slim, deep navy glass tablet from his inner pocket. The screen didn't glow red with stock tickers. It glowed with a steady, crystalline blue light. "Victoria," Elias said, his voice dropping to a frequency that seemed to vibrate the floorboards. "You spent all evening talking about what your husband owns. But in your world of high-interest loans and leveraged buyouts, ownership is just a polite word for debt. You don't own the ground this plaza is built on. You own the mortgage on it." Leland stepped forward, his red silk pocket square quivering. "That mortgage is held by the Sovereign Trust. They've been our partners for a decade. You're talking about things way above your pay grade, driver." "The Sovereign Trust was sold this morning at 9 a.m., Elias countered, swiping a command on his tablet. "I didn't buy your company, Leland. I bought your creditor. I am now the sole director of the debt-holding firm that maintains the titles to this plaza, your 5 luxury hotels, and your estate in the Hamptons." The color drained from Victoria's face. She looked down at her bold red gown, which suddenly felt like a weight around her neck. "That's impossible. That debt isn't due for reassessment until next year." "Normally, yes," Elias said, his eyes locking onto hers with terrifying precision. "But the contract contains a cross-default trigger. It states that if the borrower's primary infrastructure permits are revoked, the very permits you just boasted about canceling for me, the entire $2.4 billion debt becomes due immediately. By revoking my East Side permit to spite me, you just triggered your own bankruptcy. The power shift was instantaneous. The auctioneer, who had been waiting for Victoria's signal to start the bidding, received a silent notification on his podium. He looked at Victoria, then at Elias, and physically stepped away from the billionaire's wife. "Ladies and gentlemen," Elias announced, turning toward the room, "the charity auction is officially canceled. However, a new auction is beginning, the liquidation auction of the Leland Victoria holdings." Every phone in the room buzzed simultaneously. It wasn't a news alert. It was a formal notice from the city registrar. Because the debt was now in default, the city had placed an immediate public lien on every asset the couple possessed. Vance, the planning commissioner who had been mocking Elias earlier, suddenly ripped off his red tie and stuffed it into his pocket, trying to blend into the shadows. But Elias pointed him out. "Vance, don't leave. You'll need to sign the transfer papers for the East Side expansion. Since I now own the land the city was going to revoke, I'm exercising my right to rezone it for my global headquarters." The ultimate humiliation came when a team of private security, all wearing deep Navy uniforms, marched onto the rooftop. They didn't go for the guests. They went for Victoria. "Mrs. Leland," the lead officer said, his voice echoing over the silent crowd. "The jewelry you are currently wearing was listed as Collateral A in the sovereign debt package. Since the accounts are frozen, we are required to secure all listed assets immediately." In front of the city's most elite icons, Victoria was forced to unfasten her diamond necklace and her emerald earrings. Her hands shook so violently she couldn't work the clasp. She looked at her husband for help. But Leland was being cornered by process servers delivering a stack of foreclosure notices. "You said I looked like the man who delivers your groceries, Victoria," Elias said, as the security team placed her jewelry into a navy blue velvet box. "You were half right. I'm the man who delivers the bill. And your time is up." Elias watched as the couple was escorted toward the service elevator they had mocked him for using. The gala was over, but his empire was just beginning to expand into the space they had left behind. He didn't stay for the aftermath. He walked back to his Navy land cruiser, the silence of city night finally restored. By sunrise, the founder circle was gone, and the name Elias was the only one that mattered in the city's ledger. The billionaire's wife had tried to stain his reputation, but she ended up erasing her own world instead.